I came home to a lamp glowing that I knew I had turned off. The air smelled like someone else's shampoo, sweet and floral, clinging to the steam still trapped in the bathroom mirror. My throw blanket was folded the way my mom folds blankets. Tight corners, perfect edges, as if the room itself had been corrected while I was gone. Outside my windows, the city kept moving like it always did. Tires hissed on wet pavement. Somewhere down Boylston, a siren rose and fell, then disappeared into the night. I stood in my entryway with my keys still in my hand, listening for any sound that would confirm what my eyes already suspected. Nothing. Just the low hum of the building, the faint rattle of the heater, the soft hush of my own breathing. I told myself I was being dramatic. I told myself I had probably forgotten that I was tired, that I was the kind of person who notices too much and imagines the rest. But I was not imagining it. By the time it was over, my younger sister Claire had let herself into my apartment 23 times in 6 months. I did not count at first. I am not the kind of person who keeps a tally like that. Not until I have to. Not until my life starts feeling like someone else is editing it when my back is turned. It took a while for the pattern to sharpen into something undeniable. A credit card statement on my counter that I had left inside the envelope, now sitting open like a mouth. A package addressed to me that had been slit cleanly down the side. A new bottle of olive oil that was half empty when I had not cooked all week. My pajama drawer slightly off, like it had been pushed shut too fast by someone who did not care how it looked. What are you doing while you are listening to this story? For me, I was curled up on my couch with a mug of chamomile tea, still wearing my work clothes, shoes kicked off, staring at the peephole like it might blink back at me. I am Marin. I am 32 years old, and I work as a project coordinator for a logistics company downtown, the kind of job where everything is a deadline, and every mistake has a number attached to it. People like to joke that Boston makes you tough, that you either grow a backbone or you freeze. I thought moving into my own place would be the moment I grew mine. I had a one-bedroom in a mid-rise building not far from Back Bay, close enough to walk to the T when the weather behaved, close enough to pretend I was the kind of woman who had her life neat and settled. I paid my rent on time. I kept my fridge stocked. I made my bed most mornings. I should have felt safe. But safety is not just locks and deadbolts. Safety is knowing no one will touch what is yours when you are not there. Claire is 5 years younger than me, 27, and she has always had this way of moving through the world like doors should open before she reaches them. She is pretty in the effortless way. Big eyes, glossy hair, the kind of smile that makes people want to give her a second chance. She calls herself a lifestyle influencer, though most of her income comes in bursts. A brand deal here, a sponsored post there, and a lot of help from mum and dad in between. She is also the kind of person who can make any space feel like it belongs to her within minutes. She does not ask. She assumes. She does not apologize. She laughs it off and makes you feel uptight for noticing. The first time she let herself in, she did not even pretend to be sneaky. I came home from work and found her sitting cross-legged on my rug, my laptop open, my charger plugged into the wall, my mug in her hand. She looked up like I was the one who had surprised her. "Oh, good," she said, like I had been late for a meeting. I was getting bored. I remember blinking at her, still holding my tote bag, still thinking about the email I had to send before morning. "Claire, how did you get in?" She lifted her shoulder in a little shrug. "Mom gave me the spare." Of course she did. I tried to keep my voice calm. "You cannot just come in whenever you want." She rolled her eyes and waved a hand at the room. "It is not like I am some random person. I am your sister. Besides, you work too much. You are always alone. It is sad." She said it was sad, like she was diagnosing me, like being alone in my own home was a symptom. And the thing is, a part of me still wanted to be the reasonable one, the mature one. I told myself she was just being Claire. I told myself I could fix it with a simple conversation. So I called Mom that night. I said, "Mom, I need you to take the spare key back from Claire. She cannot come into my apartment without asking." Mom sighed like I had asked her to refinance a house. Marin, honey, she is family. She was probably just checking on you. Check on me. I tasted the words like they were bitter. She was using my things. Mom made that soft little sound she makes when she is about to turn my feelings into something inconvenient. You have always been sensitive. Claire is just trying to be close to you. I looked over at my coffee table. There was a smear of mascara on a napkin, black and careless. Claire had not just been close to me. She had been inside my space, inside my life, leaving fingerprints I could not wash off. Then Dad came on the line for a moment because Mom always puts Dad on the line like it is a way to seal the conversation. He did not say much. He never does. Marin, he said, just keep the peace. Your mum is right. Claire is family. Keep the peace. It is funny how that phrase always means the same thing. It means I should swallow my discomfort so no one else has to feel awkward. After that, the visits stopped being casual. They turned into something else, something that felt like ownership. One afternoon, I came home and my mail was stacked in a neat pile on my kitchen counter. Not how I leave it. I leave it in a messy fan because I am always rushing. The top envelope, a bank letter, had been opened and carefully resealed. The edge was still rough where the glue did not fully catch. My stomach went cold, the way it does when you realize a boundary has already been crossed and you are only now finding the footprint. I stood there staring at that envelope, trying to decide if I was overreacting the way everyone always told me I was. I told myself maybe I opened it and forgot, maybe I was losing my mind. Then I saw the second envelope, a medical bill, also opened. The third, a piece of junk mail, untouched. Claire had picked and chosen. She had read what mattered. Another day it was my dresser drawers. I know my drawers. I know the way my sweaters sit, folded in soft stacks, and the way my sock drawer is crammed with mismatched pairs because I never have the patience to sort them. I came home and found my lingerie drawer pushed slightly too far in. One corner of a bra strap was caught in the gap, like it was trying to wave for help. Nothing was missing. That almost made it worse. It meant she was not stealing. She was searching. She was reminding me she could. Then it was the kitchen. Spices rearranged. My olive oil moved from the back to the front. My favourite mug, the one with the chipped rim that I keep because it makes tea taste like comfort, sitting in the sink with lipstick on the edge. Claire does not drink tea. Claire drinks iced coffee and calls it a personality. Every time I would feel the same slow rise of panic. Not a loud panic, a careful one. The kind that sits in your chest and makes you walk through your own home like you are intruding on someone else. I started testing myself. Like a person who cannot trust her own memory, I would leave a pen on my desk at a certain angle. I would place a hair tie on the bathroom counter. I would tuck a receipt into a cookbook. And then I would come home and find the pen moved, the hair tie gone, the receipt sitting on top of the cookbook like someone had wanted me to notice. It was not just that Claire was coming in. It was that she wanted me to know she had been there. The worst part was how easy she made it sound when I confronted her. I caught her one evening as she let herself in while I was home. I was standing in the hallway in socks, my heart already racing before the lock even clicked, because my body was learning fear the way it learns weather. She stepped inside with a tote bag and a grin. "Hey," she said, "I brought my ring light. I need your window for a shoot. Your place has better light than mine." "You cannot keep doing this," I said. My voice surprised me. It sounded steadier than I felt. Claire blinked like she had not heard me right. "Marin, seriously." I held my keys up, the way a person holds a tiny weapon. "I am asking you to stop coming in here. You have opened my mail. You do not—" She laughed, quick and bright, like I had told a joke. "You are overreacting. God, you are always overreacting." That laugh did something to me. It made my skin feel too tight. It made the room tilt, because it was not just a dismissal. It was the same look she used to give me as kids when I begged her to stop taking my stuff. the same look that said my discomfort was entertainment. I tried one more time. "I need you to give me the key." She waved her hand like she was swatting a fly. "Mom said I could have it. If you want to fight about it, fight with Mom." And there it was, the triangle. Claire tucked safely behind Mom, and Dad somewhere in the background, pretending he did not hear the noise. I did fight with Mom. Not screaming, not dramatic. Just firm. "Mom," I said, "I am not doing this. I am an adult. This is my home. I need my key back from Claire." Mom's voice turned sharp. "Marin, do not make me choose between my daughters." I almost laughed then because she had already chosen. She had chosen a long time ago, but all I said was, "I am not asking you to choose. I am asking you to respect me." Dad picked up in the background, his tone tired. "Marin, please, just let it go. Your mom has enough stress." Enough stress. It was always about Mum's stress, never about my safety, never about my right to breathe in my own home without wondering who had been there first. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed and listened to the city outside. Cars passing, a distant train horn, the faint thump of someone's music through the wall. Ordinary sounds, but they felt like they were happening in a world I could not quite reach. In my world, the lock did not mean what it was supposed to mean. I wish I could tell you I stood up and fixed it right then. That I marched to my parents' house, took the key back, and laid down the law like some fearless woman in a movie. But the truth is, I was still trying to believe I could handle it gently. I was still trying to believe my family would hear me if I found the right words. I told myself it would calm down. I told myself Claire would get bored. I told myself Mum would eventually see how serious it was. I told myself Dad would finally step in. I told myself a lot of things, mostly because the alternative was admitting something that made my throat tighten. That my little sister did not see me as a person with a life of my own. She saw me as an extension of her, a resource, a place to take from when it suited her. And if I am being honest, the scariest part was not that Claire kept coming in. It was that I had started timing my days around her. I was coming home early to catch her. I was staying late at work to avoid walking into another surprise. I was checking my mail like it was evidence. I was living like someone who did not fully own her own life. Still, at the end of that first stretch, I believed it could be solved with a better conversation. A firmer tone. A boundary said, one more time, louder, clearer, impossible to misunderstand. I went to bed that night with my phone on the pillow beside me, like it could protect me just by being close. The lock was turned. The chain was on. The apartment was quiet. And I remember thinking, tomorrow I will talk to them again. Tomorrow I will make them understand. Because I did not know yet that in my family understanding was never the goal. Control was. That word kept circling in my head the next morning as I got ready for work. I stood in front of the bathroom mirror brushing my teeth, watching my own eyes look back at me, tired and slightly hollow, like someone who had slept but never really rested. I thought about the night before, about how easily my concerns had been waved away, and it hit me that none of this had actually started in my apartment. It had started years ago, long before I had a lease or a spare key to argue over. Claire had always been special in our house. Not in the quiet way, not in the way that asks for patience or understanding. She was special in the loud way, the way that bent rules around her without anyone admitting they were bending. If she forgot her homework, Mom blamed the teacher for not being clear. If she missed curfew, Dad said it was good she had friends. If she snapped at me or took something that was not hers, it was brushed off as a phase, or worse, as confidence. I learned early that there were two sets of expectations in our family. One was light and flexible, made of soft warnings and second chances. That one belonged to Claire. The other was heavy, exacting, full of shoulds, and why did you nots? That one belonged to me. When I was a teenager, Claire could leave her room looking like a storm had passed through it. Clothes on the floor, makeup smeared across the dresser, half-eaten snacks left under the bed. Mum would laugh and say she was creative. If my room looked the same, I would be told to clean it immediately because I should know better. If Claire raised her voice, it was passion. If I did, it was disrespectful. I do not think my parents ever sat down and decided this. I think it happened the way most unfair systems do, quietly, through habits and excuses and the path of least resistance. Claire needed more attention, they said. Claire was sensitive. Claire had it harder. And somewhere along the way, I became the one who could handle things, which meant I was the one who had to. That dynamic never really changed, even after we both grew up. It just found new places to live. The week after I confronted Claire about my apartment, I brought it up again at my parents' place. We were sitting at their kitchen table, the same one where I had done homework and eaten cereal and learned slowly that peace often came at the cost of silence. Mom was cutting vegetables for dinner, her movements sharp and practiced. Dad sat across from me, reading the paper, glasses low on his nose. I told them calmly that Claire was letting herself into my apartment without permission. I said it was not okay. I said it made me feel unsafe. Mom did not even look up. She said it was a small thing and that families share. She said I was blowing it out of proportion. She said Claire worried about me. I felt something tighten in my chest. I asked her why worrying meant opening my mail and going through my drawers. Mom paused then, knife hovering over the cutting board, and sighed like I was being difficult on purpose. She said Claire probably did not mean anything by it. She said I should not assume the worst. Dad shifted in his chair. He folded the paper and set it aside, but he did not meet my eyes. He said I should try to get along, that life was too short for this kind of conflict. He said, "Your mom has enough stress." Enough stress. The phrase landed like a familiar weight. I realized at that moment that my discomfort had already been categorized as less important than keeping things smooth. Less important than Claire feeling challenged. Less important than Mom having to admit something uncomfortable about the way she had raised us. Driving home that night, I replayed the conversation in my head, the way you replay something you wish you had handled differently. I thought about all the times I had been told to be the bigger person, to let things go, to understand. Understanding in my family always flowed in one direction. I decided to try something practical, something simple. If words were not working, maybe actions would. The next morning I called a locksmith on my lunch break. I took a half day off and met him at my apartment. He was a quiet man with rough hands and a kind face, the kind of person who does not ask questions unless you offer answers. He changed the lock in less than an hour. When he handed me the new keys, I felt a flicker of relief, small, but real. This, I told myself, was what taking control looked like. I texted Mom to let her know I had changed the locks and that Claire no longer had access. I did not accuse. I did not explain. I just stated it. The response came almost immediately. Mum called. I could hear the anger in her voice before she even said my name. She asked me how I could do something like that without talking to her. She said I was humiliating Claire. She said I was acting paranoid. I told her again that this was my home. I told her I needed privacy. I told her I was not asking for permission. There was a long silence on the line, the kind that feels intentional. Then she said she could not believe I was turning my back on my family. She said Claire was hurt. She said I was making things harder than they needed to be. Dad took the phone then. His voice was quieter, almost pleading. He said, "Marin, please, you know how your mom gets. Just give her the key for emergencies." Emergencies. I asked him what kind of emergency required Claire to open my bank statements. He did not answer that. He just repeated that I should not make this a bigger issue than it was. I hung up feeling shaky but also strangely clear. For the first time, I had done something concrete to protect myself. I told myself that once the initial shock wore off, everyone would calm down. I told myself this would reset things. It did not. 2 days later, I came home from work and found Claire sitting on my couch like nothing had happened. She looked up from her phone and smiled. Before I could even ask how she got in, she held up a familiar piece of metal. The spare key. My spare key. Mom gave it back to me, she said. You forgot that she had one too. I felt heat rush to my face, anger and disbelief tangling together. I asked Claire why she thought this was okay. She shrugged, completely unbothered. Because it is not a big deal. Mom said you are being dramatic. Dad said you will get over it. There it was, the rule book, spoken out loud at last. My boundaries were optional. My feelings were negotiable. And Claire had been given the authority to decide which was which. I called Mom right then, standing in my living room while Claire watched, amused. I asked her why she had given the key back. Mum did not deny it. She said she was not going to let me shut Claire out. She said it was unfair. She said she knew what was best. I told her she did not get to decide that anymore. Her voice hardened. She said if I kept acting like this, I was going to tear the family apart. That sentence stayed with me long after the call ended, because it placed all the responsibility squarely on my shoulders, as if the problem was not the behaviour, but my refusal to tolerate it, as if harmony only existed when I stayed quiet. Claire eventually left that evening, not because she understood, but because she got bored. She kissed my cheek on the way out and told me to relax. She said I worried too much. After she was gone, I sat alone on my couch and looked around my apartment, really looked. The furniture I had chosen, the photos on the wall, the quiet that settled in once the door closed. This space was supposed to be proof that I had grown into my own life. Instead, it felt like